146 years ago that a group of 35 African American men wearing black and white striped clothing were paraded through the dirt streets of Raleigh from Central Prison to the railroad. When they got to the railroad, they were shackled at their ankles and at their wrists in groups of 5. They were told, get on a boxcar, and they got on. No steps, no ramp, not a good thing. They sat in that boxcar or stood. 35 in one boxcar is crowded. They traveled from Central Prison to Henry Station. The only thing inside that boxcar before they got in was the floor. There was no seating, no bench, no nothing, except there was a hole in the floor near one corner for necessary purposes. They stayed in that boxcar for 2 days as they traveled to Henry Station. Henry Station is located where today there is a blue house, a bright blue house at the corner of this road, Mill Creek Road and Old Highway 70. You may have noticed it when you came this afternoon. That's where the depot was. That was the western terminus for the railroad at that time in 1875. When they got off, they were told, you follow the man with the gun. And they walked. They walked up to within 100 yards of where we are right now, just around the curve. And they constructed there, after they cut the trees and cleared the area, they constructed the first bunkhouse inside the first of 5 stockades. That was where they lived for 4 years. Brutal, severe conditions. That was 35 people. Now, I told you it was in October of 1875, 146 years ago. I didn't tell you what day in October. The day that they got into the boxcars was October 17, 1875. 146 years ago, right now. While you enjoy sitting here, they were crammed in a boxcar with the door closed and a piece of metal through the latch so they couldn't get out. Still shackled ankles and wrists in groups of 5. Brutal is the best word to describe the lives of these incarcerated laborers. There were not many official head counts taken, but there was one on November the 1st, 1877. On that day, there were 558 convicts, incarcerated laborers, on this mountain doing this work. Of the 558, 501 were African American men. That ratio is pretty close to 95%. When they got here, there were not many tools for them to use in doing their work because the railroad was busted. The state was busted. This was 10 years after the Civil War. The state had not much money. The state had not much people. Who are you going to get to do the job that needs to be done? State penitentiary solved both problems because it supplied the manpower and they didn't get paid. So the state saved money. So what did they do? They had first to clear a path 15 feet wide. This podium up here, this stage is 16 feet wide. 1 foot shorter than this all the way from Henry Station all the way to the top of the mountain, the western end of the Swannanoa Tunnel. That was their first job. Did they have shovels? No, they didn't have shovels. What did they use? They used a tool that you might not think of as a tool. And I brought one today to show you what they used. A flat rock. This was the primary tool. When they had to clear out the path, they would use their rock. They would be on their knees. They would pound and scrape, pound and scrape. That doesn't sound so bad, maybe, until you hit a root or you hit another rock. And when you pound and scrape and it bumps into something, the edges of the flat rocks that they just found are not smooth. It tore their flesh on their hands. For the first 2 weeks, that was misery, 100% misery. After a few weeks, they got calluses. But the torment that they endured using the flat rock is intense.